Hey, good morning, everybody. Jay Vix here with another episode of Meet the Experts, episode 33. And really cool news about Meet the Experts as we got started. This is kind of just a side hustle, side project. I wouldn't even call it a hustle. It was just a way to help create video content for small business owners. And we started doing it locally in Greensboro. The fact that we're up to episode 33 in itself, I think, is very exciting to me. But even more exciting is we recently booked our last episode of the year. We're booked out through this year, 2022. So the next episode we book will be in 2023. I believe we're going to finish this year with 40 episodes, or I think it might be 41 episodes. I'm super excited about that. And if you have a small business owner, or if you're a small business owner, or you have a cool product or service that you want to share with the world, and maybe you just don't really know how to create video, or maybe video is just not your thing, or maybe you just like to be on podcasts, then we should talk. It doesn't cost you anything to be a guest, and I would most likely love to have you on sometime in 2023. But without further ado, let's get to today's guest. I met Chris back in San Diego in September, and we were at a costume party that one of a mutual friend, Dave Albano, does. He does a party every year at Traffic and Conversion Summit. And this was my first time at Traffic and Conversion. It was also my first time at Dave's party. And while I was sitting there, I met Chris, and we were starting to talk about this product that he has that he's going to tell you all about today. And it's like, he was one of those people that, if you start talking with somebody and you just feel like, gosh, just the conversation was just really cool. Chris was that guy with me. Like, I just had a great time talking to him. We've since gotten to speak one or two other times, and really excited to have him on. His product is wild, and what he's going to tell you, just take out your notebook. It's going to blow your mind. So without further ado, let me bring up Chris Burres from MyVitalC. Hey, Chris, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Jay. How are you doing today?
Dude, it's Thursday. We're getting close to the end of the week. Everything's been fun. We're coming off the sugar rush of Halloween. I have a 7-year-old, and life is good. Can't complain.
Congratulations on being booked out through 2020. So all of you slow takers are going to be out in 2023. Like, that's just how it goes.
That's it. Yeah, I couldn't. When we started this, it was like, I did an episode this month. Now it's like we've got 5 episodes or six episodes this month. I think we have 5 in November, or 5 or 6 in November, and then 5 more in December, I think. And that's even with the working around the holidays. So very excited about that.
No, it's really, really cool. And having your own podcast is I have a podcast that I've been doing for a very long time in the digital marketing space. So I also own a digital marketing agency, and I can tell you, hopefully it's gone faster for you, but it was a year of weekly episodes before we even got our first call for anybody interested in working with us. And it was kind of a passion driven by, how do we give back, right? Like, so digital marketing has given a lot to that company, to me and my involvement in that company. And how do we give back to other people? All the things that we've learned, because there's so much in digital marketing. It's just anyway, it's an amazing experience. So good luck for the podcast moving forward.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it means a lot. And I too, I one of the things I constantly heard from business owners was, I'm terrified to go live. I don't know how to make video. I don't know how to do all the marketing stuff that you do. And I have this platform, and I happen to be a digital agency owner, and I too, you refer to it as giving back. I refer to it as like giving value in advance of anything else that we can do. And I think that's cool. But on today's show, we're actually not going to go into digital marketing. I want you to tell the viewers here, tell us a little bit more about you and who you are and what you do.
So the long and short of me is, in 1991, I started a business with a business partner, Robert Wong, and we are still business partners today. We've made it. It's 31 plus years of working together, and we started manufacturing carbon nanomaterials. Those carbon nanomaterials, and I'll get into some more details a little bit later, but those nanomaterials ended up becoming a supplement, which was something we weren't expecting. And now what I'm here to do is to share the research that's behind the molecule, and to let people know about it. And I get I'm unbelievably blessed in that I wake up every day, I share basically my history, because this is the history of the company I started in 1991. And then in return, I get people sharing amazing results that they're getting from this supplement. So that's kind of the long and short of me.
I love that as a perfect segue into what we want to talk about with this molecule and your supplement with MyVitalC. So what are some of how does this help? What does it do? Talk about that.
Well, let's first talk, like, what is it, right? Because a lot of people, their first thought is, hey, like, and I often hold this up. If you're watching, I'm actually holding up a molecule that looks like a soccer ball. If you're listening, don't worry. Just imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So you have the spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms, and it was discovered in 85. I started my company with Robert in 91. The guys who discovered it actually won the Nobel Prize in 96. So it's Nobel Prize winning chemistry. The molecule is absolutely amazing for industrial applications, all sorts of industrial applications. And they actually thought, for various reasons, that it would be toxic. Yes, we're talking about a supplement. I know I'm scaring you. But yeah, they actually thought it would be toxic. They put it in a toxicity study that was published in the middle of 2012. And in that study, they gave test subjects, in this case, Wistar rats, water, olive oil, and then olive oil with this molecule. We call it ESS60. Instead of being toxic, the rats that they gave the olive oil with ESS60, really the MyVitalC formula, lived 90% longer than the control group. And they also died without tumor. So 2 phenomenal results. Just real quickly, the next best way to live longer is called calorie restriction. If you reduce your calorie consumption by 30%, some people call that the starve yourself 1/3 to death diet. Not many people sign up for that. I don't know. Maybe they probably need your help, Jay. It's a marketing thing. But that's only a 30% extension of life. This result was a 90% extension of life in the test subjects, in Wistar rats. And that kind of changed my trajectory from being a kind of a happy-go-lucky carbon nanomaterial scientist, manufacturing and distributing carbon nanomaterials to research institutions around the world, into now I'm in the business of supplements, which is something that I tried to avoid for quite some time, because it's it's an we'll call it an interesting industry. But here I am. And you ask, like, what people are what they experience, right? It would feel very weird if this supplement extended the life of test subjects by 90%, but nobody felt anything. That would just be kind of counterintuitive. What people most often report, and I've got there's some kind of theories behind this of why this is true, but most people take the product in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. You and I, when we met, we were at a party. I may have kind of mentioned that there's some hangover applications, because that's the appropriate thing to talk about at a party. And really, we think that's born out of there's certainly, in that original study, liver protective effects. Obviously, liver involved in processing alcohol, and really just sleep. Like, if you could just get better, stronger, healthier sleep, then that would improve whatever experience you might have on a hangover. But yeah, that's our most consistent testimonial: is focus and energy during the day, better sleep at night.
Who wouldn't want those things, right? Like those, so you got to try it for yourself. I know I have a ticker down, and we're going to come back to that to talk about how people can actually get the product and try it for themselves. Speaking of people that have tried it for themselves, has anyone come to you? I'm sure you have reviews and testimonials, but is there anything that anyone's ever said to you that was just like, it just sticks and you want to share it with other people?
All right, so I'll share this testimonial, because I think one, let me first do a disclaimer. The FDA has not evaluated our product. It is not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease. You're asking for kind of outside, like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And I did mention liver protective effects. In that original study, they injected some of the test subjects with carbon tetrachloride, which is it's an acute oxidative agent, so causes significant oxidative stress. Typically in the liver, it's managed by the liver. And those rats that were given the ESS60 and olive oil had livers that were in the process of recuperating. Of course, they euthanized them and were investigating the liver. Whereas the ones that were given water, like their livers were done. Actually, most of them passed. They didn't have to euthanize them. So you've got these liver protective effects. One of the guys who was in this business, we actually just recently bought his business. He tells the story of two people that he knows that were on the liver transplant list, started ESS60 and olive oil, and are no longer on the liver transplant list. So when you think about like this kind of out there, holy smokes, is this real? By the way, I'm not even saying this is real. I'm just saying this is a testimonial, because I can't say it's real. Like, we got a lot more research to do. But if you're asking the like way out there, that's out there. Like, getting somebody off of a organ transplant list is I consider, I don't know about you, but it's way out there.
I mean, I just know it is way out there, but also, I've been a fan of supplements and things, and tried different things. I think like nootropics or something that I think is a very cool field and things. And I think there's, sometimes people look at it with an air of skepticism or, this or that. But I think when somebody has this, I don't know that that's something that people typically want to make up. Like, they don't want to make up that story. Like, for me, I would never say, I might go way out there with this, but like, I would never make up the excuse like, oh, I couldn't come because my grandmother died. If my grandmother didn't die, I just feel like there's some karma associated with that, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know that I would say like this product or supplement got me off the liver transplant list if it really didn't get me off the liver transplant list. Like, I kind of feel like this the same way. So
yeah.
I hope that's
what I do like about that, kind of as a scientist, is I'm not excited about, oh, I feel better testimonials. I'm excited about binary. Like, and I can share one of my testimonials. I am kind of the geeky guy you see in front of you. I have a spreadsheet of my migraines back to 2014, because I was getting about 4 or 5 migraines a year, and I was trying to document them and figure out, maybe I drank too much the night, maybe I exercised too much, maybe I had a fight with my girlfriend at the time, whatever. And I was trying to figure out what was causing them. When I started taking this formula on a regular basis, really in 2018, I didn't get a single migraine. And you couple that with my wife, who was going through you met my wife at that party. In fact, it's more likely that you met her and then we started talking, because she's a lot more gregarious than I am. And you couple that with her, she used to get 9 migraines a month. And I always remember 9 plus, because I always remember 9, because the doctors would only prescribe her. She had a prescription and she could only get 9, and any migraine after the 9th, she just had to suffer through. And when it took me a while, sometimes getting your significant other to, do anything that you suggest takes a while. And I don't know what the dynamic is there, but what could he possibly know about supplementation, this carbon nanomaterial scientist? And it turns out, I mean, nothing and a lot. And so she finally took it, and she's down to, so from 9 plus, she's down to like 1 or 2 every other month. And so it's a pretty phenomenal. I love that binary piece of it.
I love that answer, because I actually have a prescription for migraines. I'm not at the wife level, but I also had them more frequently than you described yourself having them, the 5 or 6. I'm about 7 or 8 per year.
Wow. Yeah.
And so for that reason alone, I mean, aside from a few others that we've been talking about, I think I'm a little bit sold right now in trying this. So I'm going to have to use coupon code MTE for $15 off my initial order. But I love it. So that's awesome.
Did I give you any samples when we met? Because I'm happy to send you some, and maybe we reconvene and talk about kind of the experience.
I think that sounds perfect. Yeah,
Okay.
no, I didn't get any. So after this episode, we'll talk about it, and then I'll be happy to come back and talk about my personal experience.
That'd be great. And we'll get, I tend to give like 1 or 2 months, but I can stretch that out for you. So that it would have been like in this time frame, I normally would have gotten XYZ migraines, and then you can manage that. Is your medication something like called Sumatran or something?
Sumatriptan. It's an
Sumatriptan.
Imitrex generic. Yeah.
Yep. That's what my wife had.
Okay.
They may not be giving you 9 because you're not experiencing 9 a month, but she was getting 9 plus a month.
Yeah, I get 9. I think I get 9 for the year. Well, until they run out, but I think my refill is like after 6 or 9 months or something.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah.
But, you know.
Yeah.
Well, cool. We've talked about this. You've talked about the type of science and type of scientist you are. So I just think this is a cool thing to ask people. We call it the earned it, learned it, improved your authority question. But what are some of those titles or certifications that basically say you are this scientist?
So a lot of people see the lab coat and their assumption is that I'm a doctor, physician, or whatever. I'm not. I'm just a guy who works in a lab, right? So that's really explains that. My degree, I'm an interesting case where my degree's in mechanical engineering, and I got a minor in computer science and math. So absolutely a scientist. I have a scientific approach to everything that I do. Really happy-go-lucky carbon nanomaterial manufacturer and distributor and scientist, kind of helping scientists around the world expand the knowledge related to fullerenes. And I've been doing that since 1991. And really, when this original study came out, my business partner and I, tried not to get into the supplement industry. It's very different. You know, if you deliver product to a scientist, he goes and tests it in lab equipment and makes sure that what you said you were going to sell them, you sold them, right? Or you shipped them. Opposite of supplements, right? I always kind of joke, if you get a container of 90 vitamin C tabs, you're not measuring the weight of the tabs to confirm they're 1 gram each. You're not crushing them up and testing to see if they're actually ascorbic acid. You're probably not even counting them, right? Like, it's mostly full. Like we're probably good. So it's really like diametrically opposed industries. The standards required in delivering research materials are so much higher, and so we tried to stay out. I actually found a paper that said 50% of the supplements on the market don't have in them what they say they have in them. And that was one of the things and that was peer-reviewed published research. It's one of the things that kind of kept my business partner really from middle of 2013 to the latter part of 2017, just out of the industry. So when this study comes out, when we decide that we're going to get into supplements, then I start looking at, well, what is... is this a big deal? Is a 90% extension of life? Is it even anything? Does that matter? And that's when I really kind of dug into the research and have been continuing to dig into the research. I'm actually in the process of writing a book about longevity. The whole community is starting to shift about longevity. When I would tell the story, even today, I'll tell the story of these rats living longer. And it's kind of funny, if they're a New Yorker, they're like, well, this experiment is horrible. We should we don't want longer living rats. Like, I don't know where you live, but we're hoping to avoid that. But some people will say, why would I want to live longer? And that's a weird question for me, because at some point in my life, I decided I wanted to live to 125. Like, I don't know where the number came from. I don't know why. I don't even remember when it came. But if I'm honest, 125 wasn't going to look that good, right? It was going to be with walkers and oxygen tanks and, maybe a little short-term memory loss or whatever. And so what you're really asking, because as a society, we can't separate yet the, getting infirmed and living longer. What you're really asking is, you're like, say, hey, Jay, how much longer would you like to live infirmed and mentally, less than you are today? And I think most people are like, well, no, not that long. Like, I don't, that doesn't sound like a good option. But if I change the question and I say, Jay, if you had the same mental capacity that you have today, and you had the same physical capacity that you have today, would you then be interested in living longer? Most people, interestingly, some people still say no. I think they need to reevaluate what they're doing on a daily basis. They probably need some kind of coaching and guidance. But yeah, most people really change. And that's we're in the middle of a quantum shift. There's a great book called Lifespan by Dr. David Sinclair. He's 25 years of Harvard research. He's actually kind of this Australian guy, cool guy. I'd love to have a beer with him. That would be fun. But 25 years of research into longevity, and he's actually advocating that we need to start looking at aging as a disease. Currently, it's just a thing that happens, and there's no funding for it. And aging, he makes the point, like, we could take one of your cells, Jay, and we could make a baby Jay. Like, so every piece of information necessary to have a younger you is in and on your body. Now, logic says that there's gotta be some way to find the right levers and the right things to do to make you be younger. So now we start thinking about, okay, I may be able to have the same mental capacity, and I may be able to have the same physical capacity. So now, like, what does that look like? Like, how do we change that as a society, our understanding of aging? And so that's really what the book is about, and hoping that that'll be done by the end of this year.
I'm excited for it. I've often, you talked about, like, like how many people think about, just living longer, and like, I'm one of those people too, where when my wife and I we were speaking with an attorney and doing kind of our end of life directives and all this stuff that we talked about.
By the way, very important. If you haven't done it out there in the audience, go do it. Like, it's a pain in the butt, but like, it doesn't feel like a fun process. It's not a fun process, but go do it.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that really likes talking about that stuff, and I hated it. And I told my wife was like, if she was in like a vegetative state, they're like, okay, done, end it, go ahead, boom, done. I was like, if I'm in a vegetative state, or just like if the doctors think it's over, I said, I want one more week. Keep me that way for 1 week, just in case. If I'm not coming out of it in a week, you can go ahead. But I was like, I need one more week. Like, I'm not going to give up.
I got to get my things in order.
Yeah. Oh man. So this is really fun. We're going to start winding it down. And this episode is so exciting. And I'm definitely now fired up to have a follow-up with you. I think that's incredible. And of course, you and I became instant friends in San Diego. But
yeah, clearly.
What is something, anything, personal, professionally, what's something you're really thankful for?
That's a good question. So I guess there's probably a number of things, but one of them, certainly in the context of our conversation today, is I'm thankful for meeting my business partner, Robert, in a physics class in college, way back probably 1990, and maybe even 89, where we just had a good relationship, and kind of a couple serendipitous things fell into place so that we could become kind of co-founding business owners. And we butt heads a lot. Like he's got a very different view than I do, and that's great. Like the reality is you don't, as a business owner or entrepreneur, you don't want to be surrounded by a bunch of yes people. Like that's not a good thing. You need people with different opinions and different views. So I think I've been very blessed in that regard. So that's definitely the business side of things. I guess, so this will be said. I'm thankful to my mom, who was a ballerina, for teaching me to dance, because that's how I met my wife.
Amazing.
And I love my wife. Like, we have an amazing relationship. We have a lot of fun together. A lot of that fun is still dancing. And I'm thankful to that.
I love that answer. And that's a really cool way to connect the dots too. I mean, like, to be thankful for your mom for teaching you to do something that enabled you to have a life-changing experience of meeting your soulmate, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And I think there's something also important. Like a lot of people are like, hey, I'm single, I'm trying to meet somebody. Go do stuff that you love. Because at a minimum, if you meet somebody there, you'll have something that you love in common. Right. And I think that's great advice.
I like that too. My wife and I talk about how we met on Match.com probably before it was cool to meet on Match.com, right? Like when we met at a time where it was like, no, you have to bring somebody with you when you're going to meet in person because it could be,
Yeah.
dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So
Nefarious.
yeah, right. But we met at a show. My friend's band was on tour from New Jersey, and they were coming through Wilmington, North Carolina. And I said, "Hey, my friend's band is coming through on tour," which actually kind of made me sound even cooler because I
Yeah.
already knew
Yeah.
the
Oh,
band,
yeah.
right?
No, like that,
But
that takes up the cool factor for sure.
yeah, so I was like, "Well,
Maybe she
let's."
was thinking, oh, I might be able to meet the lead singer.
Good point. And
Whatever works.
and that's it. Whatever works. But then we met at a rock and roll show, right?
Yeah.
And that's we both love going to see live music. So that's
That's
one of those
cool.
things that we've done a lot of together. So I agree with that 100%. Go do stuff that you love. Find somebody that likes doing one of your favorite things to do, and then you have that partner. So good advice there. One last question, Chris, before we kind of wrap up here. And I know with this particular episode, it's probably a really, really important question to ask. I'm sure that you're met sometimes with a little bit of objection or skepticism or just questions about how this is going to affect me or how, things. So what are some of those questions that people often ask you or objections that you typically have to say, well, this is the answer?
Yeah. So I guess one of our most consistent concerns or complaints about the product is we typically sell it in. So it's a box of olive oil with as much of the ESS, that soccer ball shaped molecule ESS 60, as you can get to dissolve in it. And so it's mostly olive oil, and in Europe people love olive oil, and so we don't have this complaint. Here in the United States, we just don't drink as much olive oil. We don't consume as much olive oil. By the way, olive oil is absolutely amazing for your health. Like the data is clear. It's in whatever amount of olive oil you're currently drinking, whether you get my product or not. Consume more olive oil. It's amazing for you. But when you think about our typical serving size is 1 teaspoon, when you think about taking a teaspoon of olive oil, some people even recoil. Other people are like, well, I'll try it. A high quality olive oil will leave a peppery flavor at the back of your throat, right? In fact, if you've ever been to a restaurant where they kind of grind some pepper into the olive oil, what they're trying to do is make cheap olive oil taste better, because that peppery sensation is an indication of a better oil, a higher quality extra virgin olive oil. So that complaint. And then, if you're not consuming much olive oil or much oils in general, and you start taking a teaspoon, then you'll have a cleansing effect, and that may last a couple of days. So we just address that with like, hey, we do have actual gel caps. If you want to take gel caps, that's fine. And then some people are like, well, why is it so expensive, right? That's something that I'm sure comes up with this question a lot of the time. And the reality is this manufacturing process of making this molecule. So first off, let me share, it's a naturally occurring molecule. If you take the soot from a candle flame, so typically you just take a candle flame, you put a cold plate over it, you'll get this black soot on that cold plate. That black soot will have parts per million, parts per billion of this ESS 60 molecule. So it's a naturally occurring molecule. In order to make quantities that are appreciable, you actually have to vaporize graphite rods in an inert environment at a slight vacuum. So you're dealing with vacuum equipment, you're dealing with actually local temperatures of the sun. It turns out that graphite rods are some of the hardest materials on the planet to vaporize. So you need local temperatures of the sun between those rods. So it's a very and then you've got to isolate it. There's a lot more kind of science details into it, but it's a very expensive molecule to make. And so, that's really what it is. We're working on, how can we make it, reduce the cost of that manufacturing process. But that's going to be a while. There's some techniques that, aren't scaling well is the best way to put it.
Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you, this has been a wealth. I have taken like notes. I wasn't writing them down because I was talking to you, but at mental notes of all the things now that I need to talk to you about and ask you about. And we definitely need to do a follow-up. Even if we don't do it as a Meet the Experts episode, maybe we'll just go live one day and be like, hey, this is kind of like the after show, the recap show.
Yeah.
And we definitely need to do that. So what I've got at the bottom of this screen is how people can get a hold of you at myvitalc.com. And they can go to the website, but if you go to myvitalc.com/MTE for Meet the Experts, MTE, you can do what? Is that where they can order and
Well,
you'll know?
yeah, let me describe that. If you go there, you've got all of our products. We've got olive oil, MCT oil, avocado. Our first recommendation is always the olive oil. We're a science-based organization. All the research is in olive oil, and the highest concentration of the ESS60 molecule is in the olive oil. And you can do that in the oil or in the gel caps. For each of the products that you'll find on that page, you can get it on subscription. There's a 25% discount on subscription. Go ahead and take advantage of it. Even if you just want to try it, take advantage of that. We have 500 5-star reviews on Google. Our staff is not trained to talk you out of canceling your subscription. Just take advantage of that discount. And then you'll also see on the ticker here, there's a coupon MTE for Meet the Experts. That'll get you an additional $15 off of your initial order.
Well, I appreciate it. It's a very generous offer for our guests or anybody watching this whenever they may be watching this. But Chris, thank you so much for coming on. I feel so lucky to have met you and to call you a friend. And I'm looking forward to doing a follow-up and definitely start taking this myself to check it out.
Same here, Jay. Thank you so much.
Awesome, buddy. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Stick around backstage. I'll be with you in a minute. Awesome. That was exciting. I love it. Chris has been just describes things in a way that just, it's just so clear and succinct. And even if you don't understand all the chemistry and science behind it, he's so darn likable and believable. I love it. So, but anyway, yeah, use this code MTE. Go check out MyVitalC today and do it. And that wraps up another episode of Meet the Experts. If you, like I mentioned in the beginning, if you want to be a guest on Meet the Experts, we can have you on sometime early in 2023. I want you to go to guests with an S, guests.howto.agency. So that's guests.howto.agency. Go ahead and apply. When I say apply, there's nothing to pay. There's nothing else to do. We just need some information. We are actually working on that process. Be on the lookout in 2023 for a whole brand new experience to be a part of Meet the Experts. We have been nonstop developing a whole new system for guests and for viewers and a new website around it. So this thing has really taken on a whole life of its own, and we love it. Our next episode, I believe, is November 8th, which is next week. I think it's Tuesday, and I think we have 2 episodes next week. And like I said, we're booked out. So if you want to be a guest, we'd love to have you. And until next time, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day.